I'm here with Twitter CFO Ned Siegel. Ned, thank you so much for joining us. So let's talk about the good news. You beat on estimates, sales, profit, users, live video, personalized content is working, you say. What will you be doubling down on?
Well, we had a great quarter. We were thrilled with the outcome. Double-digit DAU growth for the sixth quarter in a row. We accelerated our revenue growth. We grew revenues 27% when you remove the telepart part of the business, and we were EBITDA and GAAP profitable. So we were thrilled with the outcome of the quarter. It gives us the opportunity to go back to the areas where we've been investing, which is the health of the platform, audience and engagement growth, the revenue products that the advertisers use, and sales. And we'll be investing in all those over the course of this year. We said on the call that we'd grow headcount 10 to 15% this year. It's really focused on those priorities.
Now, despite this, shares are down. Why do you think that is?
You know, I try hard not to look at the stock from one day to another. We're trying to build a Twitter that everybody in the world can benefit from, and that requires taking a long-term approach. We're just trying hard to put up good results, and we know that over time the market will reflect it.
Now, you did say it'll be difficult to grow at the same rate in the second half of the year. Why are the expectations more muted?
You know, we gave EBITDA and EBITDA margin guidance for the second quarter. We also tried to help people think about the full year and just reminding them that the comps are harder in the second half of the year because we start to lap the business recovery that began in the third quarter of last year. So we'll talk about the second half of the year when we get there. We feel really good about the momentum in the business, about advertiser sentiment, just the pace and feeling on the floor at Twitter feels so much better than it did when I started 8 months ago. So we feel really good about things right now.
Everybody is wondering how these increased concerns around data privacy and regulation will impact you. GDPR, for example, tighter privacy restrictions in Europe. How will that impact Twitter's business and bottom line?
So it's too early to predict how it affects us from a revenue perspective. The regulations don't come into effect until late May, and so we'll be watching closely. One of the great things about our business is it tends to be very brand focused, and brand advertising may be less impacted than some other types of advertising are. We just rolled out our new privacy policy around the world yesterday, and we view privacy as a right that we all have, and it's important to us to communicate clearly with our users about how their data will be used on Twitter. And I'll just remind you, everything that happens on Twitter is public. And that's one of the great things about the platform. It means that the APIs that we give people access to are just helping people organize the data in a different way than they otherwise might. There isn't anything in there that you couldn't find on Twitter yourself.
Still, I'm curious whether you're feeling a Facebook hangover as a result of these controversies. Is it having an impact on Twitter? And where do you think Facebook went so wrong?
I'll tell you, there's so much that we feel like is in our control right now when we think about what we've been able to execute on over the last couple of years. We've now grown DAU double digits for 6 quarters in a row. That's because of real investments that we've made in the product. When we look at the improvement in revenue that we've had over the last couple of quarters, it feels like it's so much of it is because of our own execution. We're really just focused on that right now.
Do you think users or advertisers are leaving Facebook and spending more time on Twitter?
I don't know what's happening there. I can tell you that what's happening at Twitter is it feels like it really is directly tied to the hard work that we're putting into the platform and into our relationship with advertisers. So Mark
Zuckerberg has expressed support for more regulation. Is that something that Twitter supports? And if so, what kind?
We're definitely open to regulation. A lot of the things that people are talking about from a regulatory perspective are about making sure that users know how their data is used. They're about making sure that we're clear with people, and those are things that we definitely believe in at Twitter.
So more hearings potentially in Congress. Will Twitter testify again if invited?
We're always open to conversations that can further the dialogue and help us figure out the best way to help users understand how their data is used.
Let's talk about what's happening around the world. Twitter's international growth was strong, but it was weaker domestically. How long will that balance continue?
Well, if you think about how our business started in the United States and then grew from there, we have a larger base of business in the U.S. than we do internationally. So there are more net new opportunities, such as the China export market or some of the strength that we saw in Brazil this past quarter. International grew 53%. The U.S., when you back out a business that we shut down last year called Telepart, it actually grew 9%. So we feel really good about the momentum in the United States, but it's growing off of a larger base, and it definitely has turned a little slower than the rest of the business has.
Do you have a game plan if President Trump, who is notoriously unpredictable, suddenly stops tweeting?
You know, we think about our platform as so much more than any one user. There's so much great stuff that's happening on the platform. It's the place where people go to find out what's happening in the world. It's where they go to be a part of that conversation. We're thrilled that it's the place where people go to break news as well, whether it's around politics or sports. I noticed as a San Franciscan, Bruce Bochy just came on Twitter for the first time last night after the Giants game. So we see new people on Twitter all the time, and we're thrilled that it's the place where so much is happening.
But is there any way to quantify how much traffic Trump is driving? Whether it's him himself or people following him or the conversation around it?
At the same time as he's been more active, so much has happened on the platform. It's hard to unpack any one event or user and attribute much to them. We've made so many improvements to the product. We have done so much to make the experience better, whether it's around onboarding or the timeline experience that you and I have, or the notifications that people get, or a more events and topics-driven approach that we've taken over the last couple quarters.
Now, we as journalists always hear chatter about Twitter getting bought. Whether it's real or rumor, how should we digest that?
We think about the opportunity that we have in front of us, and we're so excited about it. We feel like there's so much that we can do at Twitter on our own to prosecute the opportunity in front of us. Everybody in the world ought to be able to benefit from what's happening on Twitter. And right now we've got 336 million monthly active users. So we've got a lot of work to do to solve that. And that's really what we go to work thinking about every day.
So no plans to change being an independent company?
We're a public company, so our board has a fiduciary right. But when we're thinking about what we come in and gets us excited to be at work every day, we think about the opportunity to get Twitter in everybody's hands as quickly as we can.
Now, on the call, Jack Dorsey said, "We are not a social network." What does he mean by that?
We're an interest network. We're a place where people go to find out about the things that they care about. They may care about certain people and what they're saying about important topics, but people often go because they want to find out what's happening in a game. They want to find out what happened in the stock market. They want to find out what's happening around a particular thing that's important to them. And so that means that although it is social in nature, it's not about the people to whom you are connected. It's about the topics and events that you care about. We've been much more clear on that recently, and we've been doing a better job in getting topics and events in front of people. When you go to your Twitter timeline, you're now more likely to see a banner across the top telling you about the market close, telling you about a sporting event in town, telling you about one of the towns you used to live in, because we know that those are things that are interesting to you and that you've been on Twitter looking into in the past. And that's a big unlock for us, and is pretty different than what you might find elsewhere.
Now, Twitter, Jack has been working on a number of initiatives to make Twitter a friendlier place, but it does seem like Twitter's always been working on trying to make itself a friendlier place. What does success look like? And if you achieve that, how will that buoy the business?
Sure. So the work we're doing around the health of the platform, which includes the information quality work of removing spammy and suspicious accounts, is so important to making Twitter a great place for those that should be there. We want people to come to Twitter and see a great, healthy conversation, a constructive dialogue between people who might be on different sides of an issue, whether it's a controversial issue around sports or around politics or religion or something else. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that that it's a constructive dialogue. So we're always working hard at doing that. We've had some recent advancements that we're really proud of, where we've been able to remove more spammy and suspicious accounts in the recent past than we were before. We're always working hard at coming up with new ways to do that, and it's a big part of driving the success of the business, because it makes it a place where you and I will spend more time, and it makes it a platform that advertisers want to invest more in.
All right, Twitter CFO Ned Siegel, thank you so much for stopping by.